What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boys over here at Three Man Weave. I'm your co-host CJ. Here with my lovely co-host ZD on this Monday, December 1st night. We haven't shot a pod in a week, but we've still been watching hoops. Teams have been doing
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving just happened. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. But our teams have been balling out. Thunder 20-1 right now, and the Lakers are 15-4. So we have a lot to be happy about. How are you doing tonight, ZD? How's your night going so far?
It's going, man. I think we got a lot to chop it up about. We're going through all 30 for the people today. I think first month of the season calls for it. A lot of things been going on in the NBA, but I'm personally doing well, man. A little under the weather. We're talking about the allergies, bro. In Austin, it's like 30 something degrees right now.
Mm-hmm.
Came out of nowhere, so sorry for the sniffles in advance, but yeah, bro. Just trying to focus on me and get better, get right for the next year. I think we all have New Year's resolutions, but I'm a firm believer that kind of started 6 months ago. So hopefully people have been working on what they plan to do for next year and they continue that momentum and they can do something with it. But I'm just excited to chop it up about hoops, man. LA's been doing a really good job. And obviously the Thunder are the Thunder. I mean, you don't really have much to analyze at this point. They could they could go 81-1, bro, for all we know, man. The only team to give them hell is Portland.
Mm-hmm.
I just, yeah, I'm excited to chop it up about some hoops, man. We've been long overdue, but I think a week, little break, Thanksgiving, some things going on. Just had to get right. But how are you doing, my man?
Man, I'm doing great, bro. Like you said, just this past weekend, Thanksgiving, hung out with the family a little bit, hung out with your loved ones and stuff. So it was good. I've like you said, it was a little break, but I think it was a nice break. Took a step back, and we're able to come back, and I think it just makes me want to come back into the podcast and just be locked in even more than what we have been, so I can't complain. It's been good, bro. Like you said, Thunder 20-1. We've had a couple close games these past really past 3 games, really. And then something that we haven't seen in a while is Shea playing in the fourth quarter, right? That was something that all the
Like
homies
three
are
times.
making fun of me because I always say, well, yeah, this is Shea actually hasn't played in X amount of four quarters this year, and there's only been X amount of games played, so it's been good, bro. Like you said, Portland has been really competitive against us all year so far. Every single game we've gone against them. The Suns game that we had was a pretty good one, and even the Timberwolves game as well. We had a back to back, so both of those games were super good, super high intensive games. When J Dub came back, you know what I mean. I feel like that was like my main
Right,
highlight from these
right.
past couple games. Him coming back. I
He's
think
the
on
highlight.
Friday for sure. Just seeing what he's been able to do. Obviously, he's a little rusty, but seeing his impact on the defense side of the ball. Him being away for so many games to start the year. Just he looks good, man. I think it's gonna be great to see what he can do whenever he fully gets acclimated into the system again, and seeing what AJ Mitchell's still doing his thing, bro. It's been great for me. I can't complain, but I feel like injuries for us this season, it's still a thing that's been lingering for our year. So you haven't, J Dub
Yeah,
coming back, we still really aren't even healthy up to this point. Hart, I think he's
right.
gonna miss a couple games. Caruso's kind of been in and out of the lineup. Wiggins, I think he made his return the same day. I think J Dub did as well. So missed him for a couple games, but we're still able to get these wins, bro, and just what we could do on the defensive side of the ball, which Shay's been able to do as well. Just it's been
Oh
incredible,
man.
bro. Like you said, don't really have much to talk about, but definitely seen
Yeah,
some things that I think we could work on. But we'll talk about that whenever
of
we
course.
chop it up about our teams and our what they've been able to do these past couple games. But bro, I've been really good, bro. I think the conversation we just had before we hopped on, and the conversations I've been having with all my friends and family, it's been good for me this past week, bro. Like we said, we didn't really hop on for a week, but I think it was a good little break for us to kind of realign and get back to where we're wanting to go, and just keep the same momentum that we've been doing since the end of last year. Doing the whole off-season files with all the teams. I think it was a great way for us to still be consistent with our content, and you need it every now and then. Obviously we love this. We love talking about hoops. We love watching our team win, but it's good to kind of take a step back every now and then, and kind of just reevaluate what you want to do and how you want to go about certain things. So I'm good, bro. Good spirits, can't complain, and I'm able to chop it up with you again. So about hoots, bro.
Yeah,
So ain't nothing better than that, bro. We always say if there's anything we could count on, it's 3-man weave. So
three man,
yes,
yes
sir.
sir. But yeah, man, like you said, LA, they're 15-4. We beat the Pelicans last night. I think 133, 121. I think Luca scored 20 of his 34 points in the first quarter, bro. That was the only quarter I was able to catch, and I fell asleep because I was kind of under the weather. But going through the condensed, I mean, he looked great. I mean, I will say this: he's been, I've spoken about it on this podcast before, but if you guys are just now hearing us, like the Luca show, man, it's a kind of an inside joke we got on this pod, but sometimes it's great TV. And in the first quarter, he really put on a great performance, and as you guys know, he's always sort of done that. I think this was like I think he's tied or I saw something on NBA stats where like he has, third most 20-point quarters in NBA history or something
Hmm.
like that. So kind of crazy. Austin Reeves also added like 33 points in this one, 8 assists. He looked really great in the second quarter, getting Ayton involved. DeAndre Ayton, we need to give him his flowers. I think he had 22 points in this one, added 12 boards. Bro, I mean, this dude has been I would say right alongside Austin Reeves is one of our better players this season, and he's looking to get a new contract, and he's clearly playing like it. I heard James Worthy talk about, he said it on the Lakers Spectrum TV, but he's talking about DeAndre Ayton's performance and how he could clearly see why he was the first pick in that draft. Like people forget how dominant he was at Arizona, and he was showing that yesterday against a weak Pelicans interior. And mind you, guys, our strength of schedule hasn't been super strong. We'll go through the last 3 games. I think CJ and I will do analysis on the last 3 games. We're not going to go through like the entire
Every
week. I don't know. Yeah, well, low key, I think we only played 3 games, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think we played a back to back, and then ended up playing yesterday. So I think
Yesterday,
I
yeah,
think
you
I think it
played.
was the
Yeah, you played
same
with us.
for y'all. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, like I was saying, bro, Aiton was so dominant at Arizona, bro, and he was always such a paint threat. And
Hmm.
now with Luca and AR running the pick and roll, who honestly I would say we've got the best backcourt duo in Luca and AR in terms of controlling the pace, right? Actually I think we scored. What was it? Was it? I think we scored 77 points
And
um,
in the first
at the
half.
half.
Hmm.
Yeah, in that first half, which was like the most that we had scored, um, I think pretty much all season. And then I think it was tied for our fifth most in franchise history. So the
Hmm.
offense was really humming in this game. And it was something that, I told CJ before we hopped on, like the Lakers offense is just buzzing right now. We look so great on that side of the ball. Defensively, though, the Pelicans in that fourth quarter, they outscored us 29-25. I think Jeremiah Fears played a really good game. He ended up having a hard foul on Luca, and Luca, took exception to that and kind of got into his face. But there's a couple good things that I saw from the Pelicans, and obviously I've spoken about the Lakers defense on this pod. That is one thing that we can't be giving up 121 points to the Pelicans. I don't care if we win. Like this team is so bad that it did bother me in the fourth quarter. We kind of took our foot off the gas pedal a little bit, and that is something that we've been struggling with over the course of the season. Is we guard well in spurts, but we don't put together that complete package of a game. Roy Hachimura also added 14 points in this one. Me and you have talked about him extremely high. Another one of the Wizards castaways, if you will,
Hmm.
finding value on a really good roster and showing that he belongs. So I think this game was it was good. Like I said, I watched it back. I think the pace of play I had in my notes was something that the Pelicans really struggle to dominate. They usually tend to play however, whatever team they're playing against, they tend to play towards their pace. And I've noticed that over the course of the season when I do watch them. But I think they're just struggling to be a complete team. So it's, a pretty easy W. The Lakers shouldn't be losing to the New Orleans Pelicans at this point in the season at 20 games. But we were able to get that, what was it, a 12-point win. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily satisfied, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But there's really no arguments I can make on the offensive side of the ball. Scoring 77 points in the first half, it's like, bro, they're shooting 60. I think we shot 62% from the field in this one.
Hmm.
Like it's a big deal. And I think LeBron James, you've brought this up. I think I'm going to speak to it more in the Clippers game. So this was the 30th. Now let's go to the 28th. This was the NBA Cup game. So this is not the LeBron performance, but I will say he's played an extremely great third level role to Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic. In the Pelicans game, he was out, but I think that does help Luka and Austin Reeves when he's out feel like they can do the same things that he's doing even when he's in. He's not taking away from their ability to score. Anyways, we played the Mavericks in the NBA Cup on the 28th. We beat them 129-119. This was the Austin Reeves game, bro. Super efficient from the get-go. Pick and roll, floaters, get into the paint, get into the line. I think Austin Reeves, there's not much more I can really say about him that hasn't already been said. LeBron James said in an interview after, I think, the Mavericks game that he was really effing good.
Mhm.
And he said that he told that to the reporters a few years back. And I think this game was probably his most efficient game of the season. It's not better than the 51-point performance, but it is his most efficient. So that was great. Luka also added 35 points and 11 assists. I think Luka had a great first quarter, again, blitzing. I think the Mavericks defense it was good. I'll be honest with you. Brandon Williams and Ryan Nembhard. Ryan Nembhard had a great game in this one.
Mhm.
He had a lot of big threes, a lot of good mid-range pull-ups, one dribble pull-ups. The Mavericks were definitely not a pushover team. I think they're playing with a defensive mindset at the moment. They don't have a ton of guys who can score the ball at will, but when they do guard, they definitely gave us some trouble. We noticed that in this one, I think Luka feels the most comfortable. I think this was a game that I did feel like for the first time that like Luka Doncic is a complete Laker. This was his third meeting with them, and then also seeing Anthony Davis right in the
Mhm.
Mavericks jersey. It's sad. I think he was still on that minutes restriction. I think he only had like 13 points in this one. I'm not looking at the box, but I think it was 13. But yeah, it's so interesting that trade happened, and then seeing Max Christie, right? He's on the Mavs. He had a couple big corner threes. I think Cooper Flag looked really good in this one. 13, yeah, I think he had 13, 5, and 7. A couple stocks as well. He looked really great. He played with good pace. The Mavericks have good players. It's just that trade sent a shockwave through that franchise that I don't think they can recover from. The Lakers were able to help. I talked about the defensive spurts in that first game. I think in this game, in the third quarter, we were able to go on a little 13-1 run because of our defense. And that really was what propelled us to this W. I think LeBron had 13 points in this game. He only scored 2 points in the first half, but he ended up hitting a really clutch three, pretty decisive three. I wouldn't say clutch because it wasn't within 5, but a decisive three in the fourth quarter, I think with 2 minutes to play to kind of wrap out the game and close it out. But going up, against the Mavericks, which is obviously such an emotional environment with Luka Doncic coming from them less than a year ago, it just speaks to our team's maturity, man. I know Aiton was dealing with some issues in this game. I think he came out of the game due to some soreness, and that really impacted the bigs. But Jackson Hayes, again, stepping up. We are not a good, oddly enough, we're not the best alley-oop team in the league, which is just stupid. But Jackson Hayes is a great mediary passer, and he's somebody who can pass out of the pick and roll. And I think in this Mavericks game, that's another note that I had, something that I really took note of. I think Jackson Hayes is going to be a Laker, and he's proven that when DeAndre Ayton is out, he is a great backup big, and he was stacking really good defensive reps against Anthony Davis. And I know Anthony Davis isn't fully healthy, but again, just this complete package of the offensive brilliance of Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves is just too much for even the Mavericks to handle, who have a top 5 defense in the league. You
Mhm.
know the CJ, their defense. I mean, they're giving up 105 points per 100 possessions. Like they're clearly a great defensive team. So again, that just speaks to our offense. We gave up 120 points to a horrible Mavs scoring team, which again, the defense is not there. But I think if we can score 130 points, 140 points a night, it doesn't necessarily need to be. Um, Pelicans and Mavericks aren't the strongest opponents, but still 2 Ws that you want to take. But this was my favorite game, and this was the furthest back. I think this was now 6 days ago. But on November 25th, we bested the Clippers 135-118. Taking a sip of my drink. Bro, this game, Luka Doncic, I mean, 5 threes. We know he has this vendetta against the Clippers. Comes out on fire. And they were just reluctant to guard him, man. I watched this one full, so I actually have some notes. I'm going to go through them real quick. But yeah, I think he had 24 total points in the first quarter, which, again, we spoke about it, 2 games ago, or most recent game. He scored 20 points in that first quarter.
Mhm.
Did it again 6 days ago.
Mhm.
So he's consistently blitzing teams in that first quarter, and he was just on fire. We went on a 8-0 run pretty early in that first quarter as well, kind of sparking that offensive brilliance that we've been showing over the last few games. And Clippers, bro, Chris Dunn, James Harden, operating. Clippers are kind of you want the Clippers to do bad,
I
right?
want the Clippers to do bad, bro. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie to
so
you.
yeah. So they are doing horrible,
Horrible.
and they are not a connected team. But James Harden and Chris Dunn in that first quarter did really, really well, kind of picking up the gaps in their offense. I think John Collins as well hit a couple big threes, and we just weren't guarding him. We gave up so many corner threes in this game for some reason. Chris Dunn had a quick 7 points in that first quarter, and then John Collins had 8 points in that first quarter too. Went 2 of 2 from three, and I was like, bro, like. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you said it. You said it in their offseason foul, but he has some juice left. I think Atlanta, Utah, Clippers, it's tough, right? Like John Collins has been through some things, but I saw a lot of juice in that first quarter from him. But bro, second quarter, man, more scoring. I think we've consistently said this about the Lakers, but I wouldn't be shocked if we're a top 5 scoring team the rest of the way. We did have some turnovers that hurt us in that second quarter. I think in this moment in time, it's tough because a lot of our turnovers were aggressive ones. I think there's a difference between stationary turnovers and aggressive turnovers. We were making plays, trying to get off the pick and roll. Doncic might throw it to the wrong swing man on a skip pass, and it might get picked off. I would say that's an aggressive turnover. You're trying to make a play. A stationary turnover is just when you're dribbling it, you dribble it off your foot. Like
Mhm.
that's, you know what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
not really good. For LeBron James, bro, I know we haven't spoken about him in a little second, but this game really proved to me how he could play that third fiddle. I think he finished with 25 points in this one. He was absolutely nails, and they're every step of the way. I think at his age, it's just insane to see any level of production, let alone getting 25, 5, and 5 with Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves as your teammates. I think the Clippers are just in such a disarray that I don't want to look too much into it because I do still think LeBron is ramping up and trying to get back to game speed, but it looked really, really good. In the third quarter, we started off hot again. We started 5 of 5. LeBron hit a little floater. I think AR hit a little floater too. Luka hit a little three, and then Rui got a little dunk. Like we were just scoring in spurts, man. And I think the Lakers are, like I said, we're one of the better offensive teams in the league, but it's just that defense, right? Like I
Mhm.
think it's gonna bite us in the butt. It bit us in the butt against the Thunder. It's gonna bite us in the butt against good teams, but we did, go on a little run there. And I think ultimately in the fourth quarter, I think, I'm looking in the outline right now. Um, I think LeBron had 16 points in the second half. And I think Chris Dunn got ejected with 3:33 to go because he got into that little argument with Luca again. Luca seems to be instigating stuff now. He kind of, hey, I wanted to shout him out, bro. Luca be doing some smart stuff, man. He be cursing in Slovenian, like he be trying to get around the refs. He be smart with it. So I understand why Chris Dunn was hot. He ended up getting ejected for that. Big three combined for I think 99 points between Doncic, Reeves, and LeBron, which is if you get the big three combining for that many buckets, bro, we're gonna win a lot of games. And I
Mhm.
think the moral of the story over these last three has been the offense has been so good and playing at such a high level. I looked it up before this, but over our last three games, man, you want to guess our offensive rating?
Ooh.
It's above
I,
one like 18.
really?
Yeah.
I would say, are y'all number one in these last 2 games?
We are number two behind the Nuggets. So we got 122.4. But the Nuggets are actually we'll talk about them in a second, but a little later, but they're actually now the number one offensive team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been
Fire.
out the charts. But yeah, bro, Clippers game, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and LeBron, just that complete package and being effective on the offensive end. And I mean, Aiton stepped up and done well in this game. And I think Rui stepped up in big moments for us. We just, while Marcus Smart and Vincent and some other guys kind of are in and out of the lineup, similar to the Thunder, where we don't always have continuity, I think it's really important that Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves are at the forefront. And right now, we're on a 5, 6, 7 game win streak. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like it's been great since the Thunder game. I think
Mm-hmm.
we haven't lost the games. Starting with the Bucks to now, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't have too many complaints on the offensive side of the ball. It's just more so defensively, and it's rotational things, and it's a lot of the boring stuff. I know the listeners want to hear the offense, they want to hear the scoring. They don't want to listen to defensive rotations. But JJ even said it, like we can't guard White on Rice.
Mm,
We're leaving John Collins wide open. Jeremiah Fears is easily getting to the paint, like, and I mean easily. Cooper Flag is driving, kicking, penetrating, drawing two. Ryan Nemhard is hitting threes. Like, we can't beat a Rockets Thunder, a competitive team like that.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? So we do need to clean that up. And I know you'll probably have some notes on what your team can do better, even though they haven't. I mean, well, I'm on a season highlight. Lakers got a season highlight. Obviously, 7 game win streak will give it to them.
mhm,
The Thunder got like 3 or 4 in this little go. I think Shea had a 38 or almost 40-point performance.
mhm.
And then y'all are on a, what is it, 10 or 11 game win streak?
12, I believe.
Okay.
12.
Yeah.
And then Shea also moved up to second all time consecutive 20-point
Okay,
games.
yeah, so that was another thing I had. So yeah, just a lot of good basketball from the Lakers and the Thunder, but I'll let you get into that, man. But 3 W's in a row, all high scoring. We gave up a lot of points, but we got a lot of buckets. Um, and I would say the Clippers game was my favorite one because that's a team that, even though they are in dismay, they're trying to win. Like, they don't have any reason to be losing. I think the Mavericks and the Pelicans, like the Pelicans don't either because they traded their pick, right? But
Right.
those teams are more likely to be losing to the Lakers. The Clippers have a good roster and they can still compete. Um, James Harden just killed us, but I think outside of him, it's just not enough
Mm,
between those, him, Dunn, and Collins. It's not going to get it done. Zubac as well. Zubac had a great game.
mhm,
Um, he's been playing a lot better before we end up because he's a former Laker.
mhm.
I didn't talk about him in that Clippers game, but dude, he makes an impact everywhere, and he always plays well against us. So shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to him, bro. He always he's
Dude's awesome.
bro, he's so good. I think he
He's so good.
kind of from what his or last year kind of coming to the season, I guess he's underperforming in a sense, but I think it's
Yeah,
just also
yeah.
the roster and whatnot. But what he's able to do,
God,
bro,
yeah.
it's he's one of the better centers in this league. So, yeah, kind of go into the Thunder games, man. We just played the Trailblazers yesterday. We're 20-1. We were able to get the 12 wins in a row. Yesterday though was a great game. I brought it up earlier when we first started, bro. Trailblazers, they're obviously that's our only loss this year, but they have been really. Besides, I think there was one earlier matchup where we kind of blew them out, but this game in Portland, it was a great game, bro. It was really back and forth the whole time. We started off the game pretty well. It was 24-19 to go in the second quarter. Then Portland had a great going into the second quarter, and then Portland in the second quarter ended up shooting lights out, bro. They were able to
Lights out.
drop 36.
Kamara.
Shout out to Jeremy Grant, bro. You know what I mean? I feel like he was one of the players, even, when we were talking about in the offseason files, like
He's on my
what
dynasty.
yeah, I was about to say, like, where is he going to fit on this roster, right? They have a lot of good young forwards that they're wanting to give minutes. Obviously, you paid him a lot of money. He was coming off the bench earlier this season. Now he's starting for them. I think just what he's able to provide on the offensive end, bro, it just adds so much depth to that roster that is pretty good defensively. They don't have the best record, but they always play us
Yeah, they
really
don't.
well. You know what I mean? Like in our division rival, and like I said, being away, I think it's hard for us. Whenever we go through our slumps when we're not hitting our shots, and that's kind of what was going on. We were getting good looks a lot. Corner shots wide open, missing, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be one of those games. Shea didn't really get it going to the second half. This was J Dub's second game back from his, after missing, 18 games. Or no, my fault, 19 games. But just what we were able to do in that fourth quarter, bro. That's really when that
Yeah,
game
yeah, yeah.
heading into the third quarter. I think it was they were beating us by 1 point.
One
We
point.
we ended up going on a 8-0 run, I believe, to have us be up by 7, and then from that point on, it just kind of was a back and forth game. Denny, bro.
Oh,
He's on my dynasty team. So anytime I see him go against the Thunder, I'm like, oh, I should probably lock in this performance because Thunder have a great defense. But him being able to get to the line, bro, I think he shot 23 free throws. He was 19 for 23, 19 rebounds, and 10 assists, bro. Ended up getting a triple double. What he's been able to do for them all season, and specifically whenever he goes against us, man, it just seems like, a lot of teams are a little passive or they get a little flustered. It seems like he kind of takes that initiative and it wants to attack the rim, and it kind of showed. Obviously there was a lot of foul calls that I think were ticky tack, you know what I mean? But it happens. I know we play super
totally.
aggressive. I know, that's the type of defense we play. I just wish it was kind of going equal ways. We didn't really start getting calls until fourth quarter, second half time. They were getting a lot in the whole game. But that being said, bro, when we got that 8-0 run, I think that's kind of when the momentum shifted. Um, Shea was sitting the fourth quarter until like 6 minutes in, and that's when it kind of got, it got a little more interesting because what he's able to do. He hasn't really played a lot of fourth quarters this year, but whenever he gets into the fourth quarter, that he's gonna get to it.
Don't play.
He and I told that in our group chat that we have with the boys, bro. It's he may not play a lot in the fourth quarter this season, but whenever he does, that he's gonna be getting you buckets. I think he leads in clutch points this year. But just what we were able to do with J Dub, being kind of like our defensive anchor. You know what I mean? I know Chet is our big
The
man that
favorite.
holds down the paint, but I think what J Dub has been able to do these past 2 games, bro, coming off that injury and just kind of plugging right into our system, kind of getting where he fits in. Still looks pretty rusty. He's not knocking down those mid-range jumpers like he was to end last year in the playoffs, but just what he's able to do, being so versatile, able to defend on the perimeter, and obviously he could defend at the rim as well. I think he ended up getting 3 blocks this game. So just what he's been able to provide for us. Um, AJ Mitchell had a great fourth quarter. I think he was like 3 for 4 with like 8 points, something like that. So just being able to get
So awesome.
offense whenever we don't have Shea on the court has been such a key factor for us. And, whenever, you kind of have that next man mentality up, I've been saying that all season to just kind of, it goes to show, bro, just being able to get that dub in Portland, bro, it was a huge win. Like I said, they don't have the best record on paper, but I think they're going to be, you know, by the end of the year, one of the better teams in the West.
I agree.
Fighting for the play-in spot, potentially a solidified play-in spot. I just think the way they're playing. You brought him up, Tumani Kamara knocking down threes. I brought him up earlier, Jeremy Grant, and then obviously what Denny was able to do yesterday. Caleb Love, man, I want to show him some
Oh
love.
man,
Ex Tar Heel. I ended up picking him up on my dynasty. Moved Derek Queen out of the taxi spot, got him, put him down. He's been great for them, bro, knocking down big shots. I think it's that's the thing with the Trailblazers, bro. I think they, besides Denny, they really don't have a player to really initiate the ball. With Scoot being injured, obviously Dame is out for this whole year. They don't really have a point guard. So being able to get Caleb Love in some good rotational minutes, I think that's what they're needing to provide consistent offense because like you said before we started recording, Denny didn't shoot the best, but the fact that he was able to get to the rim and get almost 20 rebounds as well, I think kind of goes to show he, even when his jump shot isn't hitting, even when his offense isn't clicking on all cylinders, he's still able to impact the game, and that's what makes him such a great player this year. That's what makes him a potential All NBA player this year. You know what I mean? So I think
yeah,
what they got going on over there in Portland, bro. I've been talking really highly of them, even last year, heading into this year. It's good. It was a good win. You think we had
100%
we had to fight back. We whenever they're hitting their shots, Jeremy Grant shooting lights out all game. It's tough to keep up with
good.
that. And we weren't knocking down our threes. We only shot 34%. They shot 33, so they started to kind of cool off towards the fourth quarter. But how they were able to get to the line, bro, it just kept them in the game, slowed the game down. Chet ended up fouling out, last play or last foul. He should have just let him take the layup without even
Take the
contesting
lane,
it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's just little things like that, bro. Was super impressed. You
Facts,
know,
bro.
I'll talk about it with these next upcoming games because these last 3 games for me personally have been probably the most intense. Like I'm locked in watching it in a while because we usually have
Yeah,
a,
y'all
a a big lead in the fourth, but these last three, bro, they have been incredible. I like that we're able to kind of get these games now. Obviously, we haven't had to really worry about it up to this point, but now that we're kind of going through it with J Dub coming back and people in and out the lineup, it just kind of goes to show just the amount of depth that we got on this team, bro. You know what I mean? I think it's something I've been super impressed with last year, and then heading into this year, kind of we're battle tested. That's what people like to say when you're able to get these may not be the prettiest wins, but you're able to scrape out these wins against a competitive team that has good ball players, bro. So that was a great game. J Dub, like I said, slowly working his way into the lineup. Just very impressed with what he's been able to do. You know what I mean? Like kind of like what we were saying about LeBron. Like being the third fiddle, because at this point I would say Shea and Chet have kind of been our one-two punch. And then honestly, I would say J Dub might be the fourth fiddle at this point in the season, just because AJ Mitchell, what he's been able to do on a consistent basis, But just him being able to plug into the lineup, play great defense, and then whenever Shea sits out in the second quarter or beginning of the fourth quarter, kind of take those minutes, and that's when he could kind of cook. I think it's gonna be something he
yeah,
progresses throughout the season. We're gonna start to see him get back into form, But head into the next game, bro. This was the NBA Cup game. This was the to seal
yeah.
to
Suns,
seal yeah to seal it was to decide the group winner. The Suns were 3-0 and we were also 3-0 in our group stage. This was a big game, bro. This was a super competitive game. um
great game.
Colin Gillespie, man, like he was shooting lights out this game. I think it's something that I brought it up to you earlier this before we started shooting, just what they've been able to do, bro, with Devin Booker and like, the ragtag group of guys that they got on the roster. Kind of is what Norman Powell said with the Clippers last year, the less is more theory, right? Like you the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I mean that, or by that, I mean just because you have all NBA players on your team, with them last year with KD, Beal, and Booker, we're high expectations for this roster. I think just the roster that the Suns have right now, it just fits them a little bit better. Having Devin Booker be the main initiator of the offense, and then having good defenders everywhere. Shout out to Dylan Brooks, bro. I brought him up
Yep,
a couple weeks ago, saying how
he's
he's a,
awesome.
a culture setter. He's able to,
He's on my dynasty.
bro, what he's been able to do is crazy. You know what I mean? He's doing things that I have never seen Dylan Brooks do in a season. Hitting step back threes, hitting contested fadeaway jumpers. It's
Starting.
it's it's locking up your best player. So it's great. I think this was a good test for us, especially the circumstances with the NBA Cup. It just made it even a little more intense. This was one of those games where it was pretty much start to finish. It was highly contested, back and forth game. Fourth quarter comes, Shea. It's Shea time. This is the game that he dropped 37. He was 10 from 20 from the field and 14 for 17 from the free throw. And just what he was able to do, bro. He ended up hitting that big three pointer to put us up. And I think that was kind of
That was
that
it.
was it. Yeah. Once he hit that, I feel like that's been something in his game that he's improved on so much this season. I want to say he's shooting damn near 40%. If it proves me, if it serves me correctly, if off the top of my head, what he's been able to do from the 3-point line, bro, it's been incredible. And I think that's something with his game. Once he improves on that, that's just gonna take him to another level. And he was able to knock down that three. It gives us that 118 to 114 lead, and that ended up bringing him to the getting 92 consecutive 20
Right.
point games to tie him with Wilt. And then with the Trailblazers game, it ended up bumping him up to second behind Wilt, who has like 126
But
or
what do
what.
you think about that, by the way, bro? Because that's a season and what, 12 games?
Do they count playoffs as well? or is that its own? I'd
Its
assume,
own thing.
yeah, right. Okay, that's why I'm assuming. Yeah, bro, it's been incredible. You know what I mean? It's something that I feel like we don't undermine it because we appreciate it, but a lot of people probably look at that and are just like, "Oh, it's 20 points," but I don't think people understand how hard it is to score 20 points in a game. And the fact that he's done it for, like you said, a whole season and then some on top of that, it just goes to show that he's one of the best scorers of this generation at this point. You know what I
Without a
mean? Just
doubt. Yeah, I was gonna
a
say without a doubt.
consistent scorer. So super impressive, bro. Like I said, the fact that Wilt has as much he does, it's kind of is like wow. And Wilt was
Wow.
first
Yeah.
and second. So he had that locked up for years. And the fact that we're watching someone break into that realm of just just ridiculousness. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
got that's all I can say. But it's been incredible, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, but just the fact that he's been able to do it on a day in day out basis. I think it gets overlooked by, oh well, the defense isn't played and this and that. It's like, man, you still got to go out there and get buckets regardless.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that game was incredible, bro. Like I said, just what we were able to do. That this was J Dub's first game back, like I said, didn't have a crazy first game back, but just what he's been able to do defensively, bro. I'm just gonna repeat that because I feel like that is a part of his game where he holds his hat high on, and that's something that us as a whole roster we're able to if there's anything that I know that we're gonna do, it's play defense. The 3-point shot has been super inconsistent, but I know that we're gonna cause turnovers, and that's gonna keep us in the game. And that's really how this game went for us, bro. They ended up coming. I think we were beaten, or yeah, in the third quarter we were beating them by like 15. They end up coming back, pushing it to like a 2-point lead, and that's when it was a back and forth, and then Shea ends up hitting that three, then we end up going up by 4. But this was one of those games, bro, where it's I was locked in, bro. I think we ended up getting some drinks and stuff, so I was just locked in on my phone the whole time, bro. I was like, I gotta watch this game, bro. Like I'm not worried
It's a
about
good one.
anything else. This is a good game that I haven't really been able to see what this team is made of. And I think
Right. Yeah.
this was a great test, especially the circumstances, winning the group, being able to advance to the knockout stages of the NBA Cup. I think it's looking good for us, bro. You know what I mean? I think it's a super competitive environment that we get to see in the middle of the season. And the Suns, they were competing to win our group stage. I kind of
Yeah.
thought
They're awesome.
we were gonna be able just to kind of get this,
Cruz.
yeah, cruise through this. But they gave us a great game, and it's something that as a Thunder fan, I have the luxury of not having to stress out about certain games. But this one, I was sweating, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, but great game from the boys. Shout out to Shea. Big 3-pointer. Almost dropped the 40 bomb. Just consistency, bro. That's how I can sum up that his performance of that game. And then
That's a
going in
season highlight.
facts, season highlight for sure. And then going into, we ended up playing a back to back. We ended up going against the Timberwolves, and that was another NBA Cup game. Man, this was also a great game. We ended up getting this dub, 113 to 105. Shea was listed as questionable. I think he had a illness or something. So I know that was something going into the game where how is he gonna look? I know in the post game he said he was tired, but he still ended up dropping 40, bro. He was 12 or 19, and 15 from 17 from the free throw line. We ended up getting our 10th straight win from that, and we become the 5th team in NBA history to start a season 18-1. We improved to 4-0 in the group stages, and we're positioning ourselves to be in that knockout round. Shea ended up scoring 19 in the first half, and we ended up having a
Yeah.
49 to 39 lead. But Minnesota ended up rallying, and in the third quarter, and tied it at 54, and again at 56. But we ended up getting a 78 to 71 lead in the fourth quarter. Minnesota was within one in the final minute after Edwards made a contested 3-pointer, but Chet cornered three, ended up putting us up by 4 with 38 seconds remaining, and we ended up outscoring the Timberwolves 8-1 in the last 60 seconds. Kind of
Free
going back,
throws, yeah.
bro, free throws, kind of going back to what I was saying, Chet, bro, I really didn't bring him up in these past two games, but what he's been able to do on the offensive side of the ball, bro, it's been incredible. He's been able to knock down his threes, which, obviously opens up your game so much. But for him, specifically, him being a unicorn in a sense, right? We use that term a lot, but
Yeah.
he's able to knock down the threes. He's able to get to his spots, and I think that's something that I've been noticing with his offensive game lately. He doesn't seem like he's rushing. You know what I mean? He seems comfortable.
Way more under
I
control.
feel like he sometimes forgets that he's like 7'1" and he's taller than a
Mhm.
lot of these guys. He may not be the strongest guy, but he can position himself and he can essentially just lay the ball up in the rim. And I feel like that's what he's been a lot better at this season. And just what he was able to do this game, bro, knocking down that three to bring us up by 4 was such a huge bucket. And bro, just what Anthony Edwards has been able to do, bro.
Oh, I
I think
know, man.
it's been
He's
great.
awesome.
He's awesome. I think he's had 5 straight games of scoring 30 or more. I think that was a career record for him. So
For
he's
him,
been doing
yeah.
his thing,
He
bro.
did it against the Spurs too, bro, and then, this he did it a lot
Yeah, I would
this
say
past week,
I think he
so
dropped like 40 a couple times, like
yeah, bro.
43.
He's been awesome.
He's been looking great, bro. And honestly, bro, Julius Randle too. He didn't have the greatest game against us, but just what he's been able to provide for the Timberwolves if Ant isn't doesn't have it going. He's been, they're one B type of guy. You know what I mean? Even when Ant isn't getting it going, he's not able to get his offense. Julius Randle has been able to get a bucket. He's been getting other people involved. I think the other day he had 11 assists. So he's what he's been able to do, bro. He's completely
Oh,
shut me up about being a black hole.
awesome. Mhm.
I've been saying that's what he was for a roster. Completely, he's blown that out the water, especially this season and even last season in the playoffs. To wrap up the year, he's been great,
He's awesome.
bro. Jaden McDaniels too.
Oh, man,
His
dude.
offensive leap that he's had this season has been incredible.
He's so good.
He's knocking down his jump shots. He's getting to his spots as well. I feel like that's something, as hoop fans, if you knew who Jaden McDaniels was in college and even in high school, he could do that. I think it's just coming into the league, you have to find out what your role is. And obviously, he's one of the better perimeter defenders in this league. But his offensive game is finally starting to get on track. And I feel like
Round it out, yeah.
once that happens, man, it just opens up its game so much. So great game, bro. Ended up winning by 7. So we end
Yeah.
or my fault 8. So we ended up, that fourth quarter kind of pushed it away. But this was one of those games as well where they had came out of the into the third quarter, kind of blitzed us a little bit, but we brought it back in the fourth quarter. It was a pretty high scoring game, I would say. We usually are able to keep people below 100, around 100 mark. They got 105, but just Western Conference Finals rematch. It was a good game, bro. That's why these NBA Cup games, man.
Oh,
Obviously
I
we were
know.
able
They're
to
awesome.
blitz our first couple matchups to where our point differential was honestly pretty crazy. I think it was like 76 or something. But
Yeah, 76 or something.
our last two games going against the Timberwolves, going against the Suns, bro, super competitive games. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm glad we kind of are starting to get those type of games now because this is when you really see how a team is, because you're not going to be blowing teams out like this, in the playoffs. You're not going to be able to have your best players sit out for a whole fourth quarter. So this is good for us to start to get everyone acclimated into these type of environments. And with J-Dub coming back, bro, obviously he didn't play this game, but once he starts to get it going, I'm gonna be super excited to see what this roster. I just want to see us healthy, bro. Like that's all I'm asking for
Yeah,
at this point because
full strength.
I haven't seen it yet. I brought it up earlier. iHeart's gonna be out for a couple games. Caruso's
Yeah.
kind of been in and out the lineup. Wiggs is back now. Just we just haven't had a full healthy season, bro. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. I also want to talk about Lou Dort, man. I feel like with him, box score wise, he may not be dropping 20, 15 points, shit, even 10 points a game. but whenever he does make those 3-pointers, and they're timely 3-point shots, they'll
Yeah,
be when we're down by 6 and we're or 9 and we're trying to rally back. He's always able to give us a couple of those. So him on the box score, he may not be the most flashiest, but just what he's able to do, hit those timely buckets, bro. He's always doing that. And then AJ Mitchell, bro. Like I said, I've been talking about him all season. Had to pick him up in my in our dynasty league. He's been incredible, bro. Just what the self creation, because I feel like that's kind of what we've been lacking in J Dub's absence, and even with J Dub coming back, you could kind of see that AJ Mitchell's role has kind of stayed the same. So I'm interested to see what that's going to look like later on in the year, seeing who is going to take the initiative in those situations. Obviously, it's probably going to be Shea, J Dub, but if we need AJ Mitchell to do it as well, I think he's proving it to me personally that we could trust him to take those type of driving to the rim, or trying to do not what Shea does, but similar to what he does in the fact of getting to his spot in the mid range and working out of the that mid range area, finding the open man. It seems like he's learned a lot from Shea, and he's been able to integrate that into his game. So super impressive, bro. Like I said, these past 3 games for us have been highly contested, super competitive NBA Cup games.
good
It's
battles.
it's but we it's what we've been looking for
Yeah, bro.
for NBA fans, especially since the middle of the season gets it drags on a little bit, but it just gives these guys a little more juice to go out there and compete on a high level. So I loved it, bro. It's definitely a little stressful for me, not gonna lie, especially how the season has been leading up to this point. But I've been impressed, man. I'm not gonna lie. I think with us, it's always our 3-point shots. That's been really where we have been inconsistent all year. But like I've been saying, I know that we're gonna play good defense. I know, Shea is gonna be able to do his thing. It may not be the prettiest, and people can say whatever they want to say about the free throws, but what he's able to do on a night in night out basis. And then Chet, bro, just what it's been super impressed with him offensively this year, because I know what he could do defensively, um but he may not always be getting the crazy blocks like how Wemby is, or getting the 8 blocks in a game, but I know that he obviously alters offenses being able to attack the rim so easily. So shout out to Chet, shout out to Shea, shout out to everyone on the roster, man. Coach Dayton all has been great. I think what he's able to do with our lineups and our rotations has been super impressive. Trusting the guys, being able to put, the 11th man in on the roster, able to put them in on the court, and they're able to get stuff shaking a little bit. So impressed with the boys, man. Like you said, 20-1, best start in our franchise history, I believe. Coming off of a championship, bro. Vibes are high for me right now, man. So I cannot
Yeah,
complain, man.
I love that analysis. Very thorough. I think Mark Daigneault, Thunder beat the Warriors wins record. I think he's got to win Coach of the Year.
We're finna go around the league, boys. We were gonna talk about all
Uh,
the teams in the league, and just kind of talk about some storylines that they got going on, and what the record is, and where they rank in their respective conferences. So starting it off, man, we got the Atlanta Hawks. They got their record right now is 13-8, which has them fifth in the East. Some storylines for them. Do the Hawks really need Trey Young? We talked about it earlier. They're right now they're 11th in defensive rating, only giving up 113 points per 100 possessions. With Trey Young on the court, that number jumps up to 123.2. And Jalen Johnson is looking like an all-star, averaging 23, 10, and 7 assists right now. So it begs the question: do the Hawks really need Trey Young to be successful?
yeah, that's we'll see,
We'll
man.
see.
I think after 20 games, or 21 games, the fifth in the East, you do pose a good question with that. I think Porzingis has provided some value, and we've seen a couple Hawks games. Nikhil Alexander
Nikhil
Walker.
Alexander
I know
Walker, bro.
so that's another guy where Dyson Daniels too. Like they just have a great team, and we don't talk about the Hawks much. That's why we're going through all 30 right now. But yeah, CJ, I like that storyline. Just keep an eye out for that
Hmm.
Trey Young trade deadline talks.
Yep.
Going on to Boston though, because that's beat. I hate Boston, so I'm I kind of want to do this in a funky way because screw them. But yeah, no, they got an 11-9 record, currently eighth in the East. One of their storylines to watch out for is, can the Celtics make the playoffs without JT? We kind of asked that in their offseason file, but you know, I mean, they are currently 11th in the NBA in net rating, plus 4.2. They've won 7 out of the last 10. They're one of the hotter teams in the NBA right now. And Jaylen Brown looks to be a legit superstar. We knew that before,
Hmm.
but he's averaging career high in points and assists with 28.4 points, and then almost 5 assists a night. So balancing that scoring and that defense for Coach Mazzulla has been interesting. I think the Celtics are finally starting to figure out, which I don't want to hear. They've been one of the better teams over the last 10 games, so 2 weeks, and they've proven that now, kind of being in a solidified playoff spot in the East. Hopefully, going forward, they can kind of keep their footing and stay right where they are.
Yeah, no, JB has been balling out, bro. Like you
Oh,
said,
he's hooping.
he's
Mid
hooping
range,
mid.
maestro,
Hmm.
everything. Now he's one of my favorite players in the league, dude.
Yeah,
I think him and Ant, that was that battle. They played the Celtics. I forgot the team they're playing. Him and Ant going at it. I
going
think it
at
was like 80 points between the
two
two.
of them.
So
Hmm.
like, yeah, they were having a little battle. It was cool to see.
Yep. Going into the next team, we got the Brooklyn Nets. Their record right now is 3-16, which has them 14th in the East. Some storylines for them: can the Nets salvage their season, or should they tank the rest of the way? The Nets are currently 29th in the NBA in net rating with a minus 10.8, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. The one bright spot for the Nets is MPJ, who's been averaging career high 24 points per game. So, I brought it up earlier. That trade for Cam Johnson and MPJ is looking really one sided for Brooklyn. Obviously, it hasn't really accounted to wins, but you have at least you have someone that is going out there and able to get a bucket. And I think that's something that the Nets have really been lacking outside of Cam Thomas and sometimes Cam Johnson whenever he had his moments. But MPJ has been having a career
Like
year
out.
this year. Being able to leave from the Nuggets and go to Brooklyn being the number one guy. He's kind of showing us right now that he can not lead a team to wins, but he's able to lead a team in points and able to have them competitive. Their record doesn't really show it. They're not really trying to win a lot of games right now. But when you
Yeah.
have a player that is going out, getting almost 25 points per game, it's going to keep you in some of these games. It's just everything else. Should they tank? I would say so. They have
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
agree.
young
There's
assets
nothing wrong with
already.
that.
You might as well at this point. I would say you might as well just tank the rest of your season. Obviously, you want to see improvement from your young guys, so just have them go out there, play 30 minutes a game. See who's gonna be the one. Like you said, Jaeger Denham has been really good for them. Outside of that, though, it's been kind of MPJ show. So interested to see what they look like, and I believe that they should tank for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I like that take. I just to wrap up the Nets conversation. Yeah, they're a couple pieces away. I think if they get a Debance to Boozer, Peterson, that drastically improves their team, and they're looking to do so. So no problems with them tanking out. But Nets fans, we see you. That's your little bit right there. Going on to Charlotte, they got a 6-14 record. They're currently 12th in the East. Storyline for Charlotte, obviously, Concanapo, Rookie of the Year loading. Like you said, he's shooting 41% from deep, almost averaging 19 a game. He's been the Rookie of the Year through the first month of the season, as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, it begs the question, kind of like you said earlier. LaMelo Ball's averaging 18 points a game on 37% shooting from the field.
Mm-mm.
So, do the Hornets really need LaMelo Ball? I
Mm-hmm.
think Brandon Miller is more of an asset because of he's a wing. I mean, LaMelo is a bigger point guard, right? He is 6'8", 6'7". Like, he is a tall, but he can't guard a wing. He's just not strong enough. And I think Brandon Miller is a little bit more developed in that regard. But watching the Hornets compete against the Raptors, I see the light and I see their plan. It's interesting. Can they execute on it? Diabate, we never talk about him. Great find.
Mm-hmm.
The Hornets have done a really good job either drafting well or finding ways, to get a Trey Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
That fell in your lap.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and get a Colin Sexton. That falls on your lap,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those guys can give you 20 points in a game, in an NBA game on good efficiency. Who knows what can happen with the Hornets? I'm excited to see what they do with Khan. And yeah, being at 12th in the East, I think they are actually opposite of the Nets. I think they should push towards the play-in
Mm-hmm.
instead of towards, disparity.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree, man. What they've been able to do with their rookies this year, like you said, Khan,
Yeah,
Cal
Cole Brenner.
Brenner,
Yeah,
Sion James, I think that's how you pronounce his
yeah,
name.
Zion James.
They've been able to find really good assets these past couple drafts. You know what I mean? Just like you said, Lamelo Ball, man. When you're scoring 18, shooting 37% from the field, super inefficient. So it's obviously we know what
Tough.
he can be. He's injury prone when he's not able to be on the court and he's not able to be efficient, you might have to consider trading him, man. You might have to look into that because your roster is looking good with when he's not playing. So yeah, definitely, I agree, man. Charlotte has hope, bro. They definitely should push for that play in. I think that would be
I
something
agree.
that they should aim for this year. Don't really tank. No reason for them to when you're competing. You have good young assets, so you might as well see where that could take you. You know, because you never know. But going into the next team, we got the Chicago Bulls. The record right now is 9-10, which has them 10th in the East. Some storylines for them after a blazing start. Have the Bulls cooled off? You know they've lost 7 of their last 10 games. Josh Giddey has been a great re-signing though for the Chicago Bulls, averaging a career high in points, so 20 and a half, rebounds 10, and assists 9.3. You know, almost averaging a triple double. Man, they have cooled down a lot. It just seems like with them, Billy Donovan, man, it just doesn't seem like he. Now I wouldn't say even trust, but I don't think he just lets his young guys go out there and play a lot of minutes.
I
You know, like
agree.
you said, Matas obviously hasn't really
I
been
agree.
having the greatest year, but I also think it's because he's really not getting the opportunities to be able to prove himself. And I think that's also just how Coach Donovan is. You know, obviously he was the coach for the Thunder whenever we went from Scott Brooks in our kind of bridge years with Russ and PG and whatnot, but just it just doesn't seem like he trusts his young guys right now. So I think, if you were to give him a little more minutes, have them play a little more freely, it seems like he's on a short leash. You know what I mean? He doesn't really have the opportunity to make a lot of mistakes. So whenever he does, he ends up going on the bench. But they have cooled down. Bulls aren't as good as they were whenever the end of the first month, a couple of weeks into the season. But I feel like they're just always gonna be in that play-in spot.
That
They're like a
Yeah,
solidified play-in team, so not really able to compete, not really able to get a high draft pick. So they're in that like purgatory of being not terrible but not fantastic. So I feel like that's just kind of what the Bulls are, man. So we'll see
it's a good
what
way
that
to
ends up
explain it.
looking like. I think they have a good roster. Obviously Giddy's having his career year,
For
almost
years.
averaging triple double, and obviously you signed him to a pretty flexible contract deal, so you could potentially make some moves. But like I said, just getting your young guys out there, having them have a little more opportunities. I would like to see that from the Bulls.
100%, bro. Well, moving on to Cleveland, man. Cleveland's got a 12-9 record. They currently sit seventh in the East. Some of the storylines for right now to watch out for: are the Cavs a real contender or not? That's then the question. They are currently on a 3-game losing streak, and they've yet to beat multiple teams over 500 this year.
Hmm.
So that's why they're sitting close to 500. Obviously, that 12-9 record kind of speaks to that. They have the 13th best net rating in the NBA, plus 3.1. But Donovan Mitchell, man, he's having an all NBA type season. He's almost averaging 30 points a night on really good efficiency, shooting 40% from three. It just My question is, like, how serious is this team about winning? The injuries continue to pile up. Max Strus is going to be out for a long time. You heard the injury report today, CJ, like Ball, Merrill, Garland, like
Hmm.
Mobley's doing enough. He's not having an extremely efficient year, not as efficient as last season, but he is showing more promise on the offensive end. But I just, I'm worried that the Cavs could fall into a purgatory situation as well because they are in the second apron. Like, this is the first team that's been in the apron.
Hmm.
The Celtics wiggled their way out of that, and they were able to kind of get rid of Porzingis, get rid of Horford. Like, they had to make a couple moves, but Cleveland sits in the apron, and is it worth 12-9? I think I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say
Is,
that's a
is
perfect
it,
way to sum it up. Honestly.
yeah, like, is it worth being 500 after 20 games? Because we're going to talk about Toronto, which is also in the second apron, and you guys will see where they're at.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Going into the next team, man. We got the Dallas Mavericks. The record right now is 6-15. That's currently 12th in the West. Some storylines. Can Cooper Flag be generational? He's currently averaging 16.7 points per game, 6 rebounds and 3 assists as an 18-year-old. And Flag is currently second behind Knuppel in Rookie of the Year voting. And Dallas currently ranks fourth in the NBA in defensive rating, giving up 111 points per 100 possessions. Sorry. We talked about it, bro. I think what
Yeah,
he's been able to show us, uh, a very good, promising asset for the Mavs, and I think it's funny to bring him up because he's not even the GM anymore. But what Nico was preaching to them was defense, and the fact that they have been able to make their way in the top 5 conversation for being one of the better defensive team. I think it kind of goes to show just where they're at. We know where they holding their hat on. They may not have the best record, but they have an identity. And I think that is the main thing for a team to be successful in this league is to find out what they're good at. And for the Mavs right now, until AD can consistently be in the lineup, that's what they're going to be good at. So that being said, if they can, if they can maintain being a top 5 defensive rating team in the league, they can potentially make their way back into the conversation of being in the play-in. So it's going to be
I
interesting to see
agree.
what that looks like.
Yeah, because if they raise their offense just a little bit
Hmm.
and keep the top 5 defense, yeah, they're in a playing team, maybe a playoff team if they win, go on a win streak. So, yeah, I like that. I think Cooper Flag is the storyline for the Mavs clearly. Moving on to the Nuggets, man. Denver, 14-4, fourth in the West. Storyline to watch out for, man. Can Nikola Jokic really win his 4th MVP? I mean, the Nuggets rank first in offensive net rating. I think they're scoring 124 points per 100 possessions right now. And Jokic, I mean, he's averaging 30, 12, and 10. I mean, a triple double through 20 games. He did it last season whenever Shea, he kind of swept the whole awards. But yeah, I mean, Jokic's dominance, we've seen it for so many years in, years out. But this is the best that I've seen him, the most efficient. If you look at all the plus minus, all of that stuff is off the charts. And then Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, like the guys that are around their roster, even though they are a little bit hurt right now, AG's down, Braun is down, Christian Braun is really important. When they're in that lineup, they're so dangerous. And they're the only team in the NBA that I've seen that can really, take the Thunder to 7 games. So
Hmm.
I think Jokic is looking to continue to dominate his way through this season. And the Nuggets have performed at such a high level, being top 2 in offense the entire year. That'll probably be the case the rest of the way. And to only be fourth in the West is, it's interesting.
Very.
The Lakers are in a better spot than the Nuggets are, but I think it's just their schedule. They've played a tougher schedule so far, but yeah, I think Jokic he wants it, bro. He
Hmm.
wants it.
He
So we'll
does.
see.
He does. He does, bro. Going to the next one, man. Probably the greatest story that we have right now in the league, I would say, besides the Thunder. We got the Detroit
Yeah,
Pistons, man. With their record right now is 16-4. That has them first in the Eastern Conference. Storyline, man. Is Detroit going to the finals? Detroit has been on a tear this year, already surpassing their win total from 2 years ago. The Pistons are fifth in the NBA in net rating at a plus 5.8, and Cade Cunningham looks like a first team All NBA player, averaging 28, 6, and 9 on 45% shooting. Wow. What more can we say? What more can we say, bro? Just what
yeah,
for the fact that they're number 1 in the Eastern Conference and they surpassed their total wins from 2 years ago. I think that's all we really have to say. Obviously, Cade has been
yeah.
incredible, but I'm more impressed with what Jalen Duren has been able to do. They've been able to construct this team around Cade to give him an athletic big that is kind of dominating every all majority of teams in the paint, and then you're just surrounding him with shooters. I feel like that's been what they were practicing last year, where they had Malik Beasley and obviously his whole situation. They had to, reconstruct that roster, but they've been able to find players that fit with the way that Cade plays well. And you're getting a leap from Duran in his third, fourth year in the league. Just it's incredible, bro. Like I said, not something
I love it.
we're really expecting from the Pistons to take this huge of a leap, but what they can do offensively with Cade and just honestly their identity on the defensive side, because that's really where they hold their hat high on. They have great bigs and forwards that can really defend 1 through 5. So it's interesting to see. And shout out to Detroit basketball.
Basketball. There you go, man. I love that. Let's end that one on there. But moving on, man. Golden State. 11-10, currently eighth in the West. Storyline for this one, man. Hey, is the Warriors storybook dynasty officially over? That's the question. I mean, Golden State, 16th in the NBA net rating, only plus 1.3. However, they do have the seventh best defensive net rating in the NBA, only giving up 111.3 points per 100 possessions. Currently, Steph Curry's out and will be reevaluated in a week or two. It just begs the question, bro. Jimmy Butler, Kuminga, Draymond Green, we got guys in the media saying this and saying that. Oh, our team isn't good and we don't have this and that. They don't look like a connected team whatsoever. I think, if you're a Warriors fan, you want more out of Pods and Bensky. I mean, let's be honest, man. Like, I think Pods is, he said he wanted to be as good as Curry. I saw in a quote or something like that. And
I saw that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the stuff. Like, you just want more from your draft picks. I think I will say this: the Warriors have done a really poor job. They've had opportunities to draft great guys, and they've taken weird picks here and there. We will see. I think I'm out on this team. I don't believe in the Steph Curry hero playoff run. I don't know if it's coming. And if he's hurt, I think their age is just a really big factor. They are really old. And Jimmy Butler's having a great season, but as of right now, man, the 11-10 record, their net rating at +1. Like, I think it kind of speaks to the type of team that they're going to be this season. So I'm sorry, Warriors fans, but it doesn't look like it's Dubs Nation right now.
Going into the next team, man, we got the Houston Rockets. They're currently 13-4. That ranks them third in the West. Some storylines for them. Are the Rockets real deal contenders? The Rockets currently have the Rockets offense has been on fire to start the year. Houston is currently second in the NBA in offensive rating, averaging 122 points per 100 possessions. And Kevin Durant has been a great fit for them, averaging 24.6 points per game on 49% shooting. I think with them, bro, it's looking like how we were predicting it to. Kevin Durant
Yeah,
being one of the greatest
exactly.
offensive players we've ever seen in this league. Alfred Sengun taking another leap into his fourth season in the NBA. It's looking like they're a real deal contender in my eyes. Just seeing how
Like Reed Shepard, yeah,
Reed
everyone.
Shepard, all the continuity that they have, they're one of the better defenses teams in the league as well. They're able to run a double big lineup, out rebounding teams. Those type of little nitty gritty things has been why they have been so successful on the offense side of the ball. They've been able to get extra
Yeah.
possessions. They've been able to, their young guys coming off the bench, playing starter minutes in Reed Shepard and obviously Amen Thompson. He hasn't been having the craziest season, but just what he's been able to do and provide for them, it's more so been the Alfred Sengun show in my eyes, and having KD being able to plug right in. That was a little more expected, but shout out to Sengun, bro. I would say it's been his show, his team since JG left, and I think it goes to show, bro. Third in the West right now at 13-4.
Yeah, dude, and their offensive rebounding rates at like 40% or something crazy. So we'll see if that sticks, but they are the best offensive rebounding team in the league for what it's worth. But moving on, man, Indiana, the Pacers currently 4 and 16th, good for 13th in the East. The Pacers desperately need Halliburton. They've been the most disappointing team in the NBA to me, and probably I don't know. CJ, do you think that's the case from the
Yeah,
finals to now? Yeah,
I would say
right.
so. I didn't think. I mean, we both didn't think that Tyrese's absence was gonna make this much of an impact on their
Right.
team. So yeah.
Right. So yeah, and I mean it shows it in the stats, man. The fifth worst net rating in the NBA, -8.7, and then the second worst offensive rating in the NBA, only averaging 106 points per 100 possessions. My God. Luckily, they own their own draft picks, so there's not a ton of incentive for them to win or really worry here. I think Tyrese comes back next year and they'll be right back in the mix. But I think the season's going to be about development. What can you get from Halliburton and Nemhard? I wouldn't worry about playing McConnell too much, but I think, yeah, Pascal, he's done well. I think he's been left out on an island. He's been the only one who's been healthy. I think they're just dealing with a ton of injuries and probably the most injury riddled team, man. So
Mhm.
unfortunately, Indiana Pacers fans, you guys might have to wait another year, man, before you guys are back in contention for anything. And so far through 20 games, I think the net rating, the offensive stats, and just what you see on the court too, like the product. It's
Hmm.
just really since that first game we saw against the Thunder, like they haven't competed at that high of a level since then. And obviously that was the same team they went up against in the finals. But hopefully we see more fight out of them, man, because I want to see them do well. And it's a shame to see where they're at after 20.
Yeah, bro. Going into the Clippers, a team that I'm kind of praying for their downfall right now, but their record right now is 5-15. That's currently 13th in the West. Storyline for them, man. Clippers are off to a disaster start. The Clippers have the seventh worst net rating in the NBA at a minus 5.8. They are relying heavily on James Harden, who's averaging 27, 5, and 8 assists per game. Age and pace of play seem to be a big factor. Oh, and their unprotected first round pick goes to the Thunder. Yeah, man, it's been something we said even when before the season started. Age was going to be a huge thing for them. We thought that Kawhi was going to be able to play a little bit more games that he was. Harden is playing at a great
Oh,
level, but
he's
that's
awesome.
all they have. Obviously, Beal's out for the season. You got CP3 there and going his retirement tour this season, but nothing really else is going good for them, man. They're like I said it, relying so much on James Harden. He can only do so much for your roster. You're gonna need someone else to step up, and they haven't been able to do that, bro. You have the slowest pace in the league. You're not a good defensive team. It's hard to win games when you rely so heavily on James Harden because they are a James Harden injury away from potentially being one of the worst teams in the league right now, and
For
they're
sure.
if not being the worst team, obviously.
That's a good way to leave it. Like you're saying, like one injury to Zubac or Harden, and they're chalked. I think we've seen moments from Collins though, and Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn. Like they have the pieces. Can
Mhm.
they put it together, play a little faster? Um, I don't like the Clippers though, so screw them.
Screw yeah.
But moving on to LA, the Lakers, baby, 15-4, second in the West. You guys already know the storyline, man. Showtime Lakers, man. The Lakers offense has been on fire lately, averaging 118 points per 100 possessions. And Luka Doncic is having an MVP season. Like you said, man, your number one MVP, getting 35, 8, and 9 on 47% shooting from the field. And then Austin Reeves and DeAndre Ayton have been our X factors. Austin Reeves averaging 28, 5, and 7 on 52% shooting from the field. Ayton obviously grabbing death taxes in 17 and 10. I mean, yeah, I'm happy, bro. I think my team is playing out of their mind. Our strength of schedule has been easy, but when you look at the stats and you look at these wins, they do count and they matter. And I think my team has been beating the teams that we need to and taking care of business. So I'm very excited to see what LeBron James can bring whenever he's fully healthy. I think Marcus Smart, Jackson Hayes, LaRavia, all the role players have done a good job too. And that's why we're sitting second in the West, only behind the Thunder. I mean, there's after 20 games, there's really no reason. Like it's who you are, and so I'm excited that yeah, we're gonna play with a lot of offensive firepower. We're gonna play behind Luka Doncic and AR and see what that can give us, man. And we spoke about the Lakers a lot on this pod, so I'm not gonna go on a 5 minute tangent here because we have a lot of teams. But yeah, bro, LA on fire with the offense, and hopefully we're beating the Suns right now.
Yes, sir. Going on to the next team, man. We got the Memphis Grizzlies. They currently are 6-15. That ranks them 12th in the West. Some storylines. Do the Grizzlies need Ja Morant? Ja has been a head scratcher this season, averaging 18 on 35% shooting. And the Grizzlies have the sixth worst offensive rating in the NBA, scoring 111 points per 100 possessions. I think that just kind of sums it up, man. Obviously, they have Cedric
Yeah.
Coward, they got Triple J,
Mhm.
they have Santi Aldama, they have good pieces. It's just looking like ever since that whole Jaw situation earlier this season, it's looking like it's still kind of lingering. We may not be hearing about it as much as we were when it happened, but it definitely seems like he's not all
Yeah.
there right now. Hasn't been performing to the level that we know Ja can be. He's kind of playing like, he's putting up the same type of numbers that LaMelo is right now to put in perspective, 18 on 30, sub 30%, or sub 35% shooting. So do you really need that type of player on your team right now to be successful? And obviously it's not really getting you wins. So do they need John Morant?
Interesting. Yeah, bro. And Jalen Wells and Spencer, and yeah, they have pieces that they can build around. And GG hasn't played well this year, but he's still there. And yeah, we'll see with the Grizzlies. I think there will be John Morant trade deadline discussions for
Discussion.
sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Moving on though, Miami Heat, man, the record of 13-7, fourth in the East. Man, will the Heat lead the league in the pace for the rest of the year? I asked you that question. We think so. I
Hmm.
mean, the Heat are playing great on offense, man, scoring 115 points per 100 possessions. They're also seventh in the NBA in net rating with a plus 4.8. And Norman Powell, man, he looks to be like one of the better additions for really any team, but obviously he's on Miami. He's averaging 25 points on 50% shooting from the field, bro. I mean, they just got back Tyler Hero. Bam's played extremely well. I think Jaime Jaquez Jr. is another person we've spoken about a lot on this pod. The Heat have it all put together now. It's all in front of them. The East is wide open this year. I could really see them making a title push. Not to say they're going to go to the NBA Finals, but don't be shocked if you see the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Eastern Conference semifinals, right? Like,
Hmm.
Spoelstra's coached these boys up well. Pelle Larson, Davion Mitchell, all the extra pieces that, Kel'el Ware is getting. I think he has the most dunks in the NBA right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, like the Heat are playing fast, they're playing with pace, and we think it'll stick the rest of the year. Miami, you guys look really good, man. So from what we've seen the last few years to now in terms of offense, right? The stuck in mud to free flowing and playing with pace and playing quick and making decisions fast. That's what you want to see from Miami. So I know if you're a Heat fan, you're very excited to see, second half of the season and then back half of the season, wrapping up coming towards playoff time.
Yeah, and they're just, I mean, I've always told you this, I would always tell Los this as well. It's like they're just one of those teams I can never count out. And when you have
Oh
the
no.
fastest pace in the league, it's hard to really count you out just in that token alone. So the fact that they already had that type of stigma for me, I wouldn't be surprised, bro. I would not be surprised with the way the Eastern Conference is looking. They can potentially
For
make
sure.
a
They can
little
do something.
Eastern Conference playoff run. So it's exciting for the Miami Heat fans out there. Going into the next team though, we got the Milwaukee Bucks. Their record right now is 9-12. That has them at 11th in the East right now. Some storylines: can the Bucks make the playoffs? The Bucks are 21st in the NBA in defensive net rating, giving up 116.3 points per 100 possessions. And Giannis is doing great through the first month, averaging 31, 11, and 6 on 64% shooting. It was something that when, prior to the season started, we said we knew Giannis was going to do great. It was just everyone else. And, we brought him up, Ryan Rollins. It's been incredible for them. Gary Trent Jr. shooting lights out. AJ Green. They have the pieces around. When you have Giannis on your roster, I really cannot count you out for you being successful in this league. So I think they could potentially make a playoff, man. Definitely not, I wouldn't say solidified yet because, the East is wide open. A team can catch fire towards the back half of the year and, push them further down. But I think they're a solidified play-in team. I'll say that. I'm pretty
I like
comfortable. I'm,
that.
I'm pretty comfortable
I like
with
that.
with saying that when you have a player of Giannis's
Hmm.
caliber.
Cole Anthony, Miles Turner, like every AJ Green, every piece they have has done their job. They play their role really well.
Hmm.
Don't be shocked if the Bucks make a play-in spot pretty solidified. And with Giannis healthy, anything's possible. So I like that take. Moving on to Minnesota, where it's cold. They got a record of 12-8, good for sixth in the West. Right now, man, point guard trouble in Minnesota. The Timberwolves have the 10th best net rating in the NBA. They're giving up, or they're getting. Sorry, they have the 10th best net rating in the NBA at plus 5.7. They're only giving up 113 points per 100 possessions. So they also have a great defense. I think the point guard situation is interesting. Rob Dillingham, Dante DiVincenzo, forcing Ant to play there. Ant's been showing up, bro. I think Ant and Randall as a duo, they're combining for over like 50 something points per game, which is really good, maybe even 60. I think you said it, bro. You kind of already took the words out of my mouth. Julius Randle as the facilitator, I think is the answer to that question. You run Ant at the point, but you also have a forward who can also dish out the ball to Jaden McDaniels. We know he's not a primary creator, but when you have those two guys at 1A, 1B, being able to kind of share the facilitation duties, it really does take a load off your team. And Anthony Edwards, bro, continues to rise in the MVP discussions, the face of the NBA. Like, he's doing it all, man. And I think he's averaging like 35 points over the last 3 games as well. So Minnesota, For making the Western Conference Finals, though, I do have some worries. I don't know if they'll return back there.
Hmm.
So if you are a Timberwolves fan, I don't know if you guys will reach that peak that you guys were at last season. So we'll have to see. I think they have a lot of ground to make up in the West, and it only gets harder from here. So I am interested to see what Minnesota can do coming up on the second half of the year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Going into the next team, we got the New Orleans Pelicans. Their record right now is currently 3-18. That has them 15th in the West. Some storylines, man. Do the Pelicans need to blow it up? After firing Willie Green, the Pelicans still hold the fourth worst net rating in the NBA with a minus 10.4. A cause for concern is they can't tank out due to trading their first round pick. Should they trade Zion? Zion is averaging 22 points per game on 51% shooting. This is something that we've been talking about all
Interesting.
season for them, man. The Pels trading away their pick for this upcoming season to get Derek Queen in this draft. Derek Queen's looking good, but that's really it, man. Zion's still not consistently in the lineup. Jordan Poole has been out of the lineup.
Yeah,
DeJounte Murray hasn't played this season. They're in a weird spot, man.
probably
Because
won't
I,
if they suck this bad.
yeah, I was say it's hard for them because they can be the worst team and then they not even get their draft pick. So yes, I guess they should, but it's not gonna help them in the long run. So I would say go out there and
Trade.
go out there, compete, trade. Yeah, trade Zion, man. It sucks to say it. Obviously, Zion, we know what he can be when he's on the floor. He just hasn't done it consistently. I'm pretty sure someone will bite on the value that the value that he still holds in this league because he could potentially be a piece for another team if for them to be successful. But for them right
Yeah,
now, it just doesn't make sense. At least try to get a first round pick this year, even if it's not yours. Whoever team you trade them to potentially do that. But as of right now, they're in probably the
yeah,
worst spot right now in the NBA, to be
yeah,
honest.
for sure. For sure. And Fears and Queen make it a little better, but even that, it's just not enough for the disaster that's going on in New Orleans, just to put it frank with you. But we'll get off of that for a second. Moving on to the team up in NY, the New York Knicks, sorry, with a record of 13-6, good for second in the East. Storyline, man. Knicks got a new identity with Coach Mike Brown. They have the fourth best net rating in the NBA with plus 7.4. And Jalen Brunson's also averaging, 28 points per game, getting 6, 7 assists on 48% shooting. Yeah, they look really good, man, as a complete team. Cat struggled a little bit this year, but OG Anunoby, when he's out there, he's picked up the slack. We've seen also, let's give some flowers to Miles McBride. I
Hmm.
mean, being one of the developmental pieces of the New York Knicks, who honestly thought would get traded away, but just hasn't, and is starting to show himself, show some life. McCall Bridges never misses a game, and they're also third in the NBA, scoring 120 points per 100 possessions. So the offense is humming. Mike Brown's doing something right. Jalen Brunson's getting the ball out of his hands a little bit quicker, and they just look a lot more polished, bro. They look ready to compete in the East, which again is wide open. We said that a bunch, but this next team, man, I think if they do get to the NBA Finals, it'll be tough to beat this next team.
Yeah. Going on to this next team. We got the Oklahoma City Thunder. We currently hold a record of 20-1. That ranks first in the West. Some storylines, man. Can the Thunder break the Warriors 73-9 season record? The Thunder are the most dominant team of the 2020s. They are first in the NBA net rating with a plus 15.3, and they are the best defensive team in the NBA, allowing 103 points per 100 possessions. Shea Gilgis Alexander is averaging 32 and a half points in 33 minutes a night. So I talk about the Thunder a lot. I feel like I don't need to say much. That record for the Warriors, I feel like I've talked to you about it. I don't know if we brought it up on the pod. It would be super dope to witness that, but I'm not gonna lie to you. If we don't get to that record, but we still end up winning a championship, that's what I'm more important about or more worried about. But it's still in the conversation, so I'm not gonna be mad if it gets to that point, and we'll be able to witness history, bro. We would be able to see that 72-10 Bulls record that a lot of people didn't think would ever be broken, potentially get broken twice in, a decade and a half. So interesting to see. As a Thunder fan, it means something to me, but I'm more worried about that potential back to back championship. So that's what I prioritize more. But it is in the conversation still. So I'm not mad if that'll be something we talk about for the rest of the season.
I like that, man. I like that. Yeah, shout out the Thunder. Not really too much to say, but moving on towards Orlando, man. Orlando's got a record of 13-8. I think they're fifth in the East right now. Storyline for them though, Magic turnaround, bro. I mean, we were talking kind of lowly of them a couple weeks ago, but they kind of turned it around into contenders. They've won 8 of their last 10. I think over the course of 20 games, obviously the total that they've played, they have the sixth best net rating in the NBA with a plus 4.9. Their defense has improved a lot over the course of the last 2 weeks. Now the Magic hold the 12th best defensive net rating in the NBA, allowing just 112 points on 100 possessions. So yeah, the Magic, Jonathan Isaac, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, like you said, they have all these pieces that when you put it together, it's a very solid roster. I think Mosley was a little bit reluctant to play some of those guys early. Anthony Black, Tristan De Silva as well. We talked about the developmental staff earlier in the pod, but they've really taken that, I think that next step as a team. I think they're starting to find that continuity, and we know they're your squad in the East, and Desmond Bane does look good. I don't know if he's worth 4 first-round picks, but still, he is providing value in that regard. And again, man, I'm going to just say it, the East is so wide open that really any team can get the 1 through 3 seed, and that can really help you in the playoffs. And I think the Magic are pushing for it. Like I said, they're fifth in the East right now, so they're right out of that top 3. So let's see if the Magic can get it going. And I think they will, bro. After the All-Star break, we'll see where their record sits.
Yes, sir. Going into the next team, man, we got the Philadelphia 76ers. Their record right now is currently 10-9. That has them ninth in the East. Some storylines. Can Tyrese Maxey carry Can Tyrese Maxey continue to carry the 76ers? Tyrese Maxey has been amazing to start the season, averaging 32 points per game. That is a career high with 7.6 assists on 46% shooting. Philly is ranked 17th in the NBA net rating with a minus 0.8. And VJ Edgecombe has also been great for the 76ers, currently fourth in the Rookie of the Year voting. My only worry about Tyrese Maxey performing at this level is it going to slow him down come playoff time if they make in the
Right,
play in,
right,
or back end of the season if he gets injured? What is this team really going to look like? I
right.
He's been playing at an all NBA level this whole season, but it's just if he's going to be able to maintain that. Obviously, he already gets a lot of miles on him every season. He's always usually pretty high in the minutes played for a whole season, minutes per game at least. But I think that's my only concern, man, because realistically, if he's not playing, PG really hasn't been in the lineup. Joel Embiid has still been, in and out of the lineup. He's really
No,
their
you're
only
right.
consistent player. Obviously, VJ has been great for your rookie. He's been kind of cooled off a little bit. And honestly, the 76ers in general have kind of cooled off. They kind of started off super hot. Now it's kind of, reeling it back. But with the level that he's been playing that, if he can maintain that, I believe that they will be a play-in team. So we'll see. I'm just interested to see what that looks like towards the end of the season, though, because he has had a
Yeah,
heavy workload and it's a lot for him to put on his shoulders. So just my only
yeah.
concern with that. But yeah, no, he's been playing
Playing
fantastic.
the most minutes in the NBA,
Hmm.
so. You're right on that one, man. But going out to Phoenix where it's sunny. Is it sunny there? The Suns have quietly put together a pretty decent season, man. Phoenix is 14th in the NBA in defensive net rating. They give up 113 points per 100 possessions. Their offense is also outperformed to start the year, too. The Suns are also scoring 115 points per 100 possessions, good for 12th in the NBA. So Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks, Colin Gillespie, Ryan Dunn, like Royce O'Neal, when they put it together, they hit threes. They score in bunches. Devin Booker's averaging top 10 points per game in the league right now. I think he's getting 27 a night. He's been doing this for his entire career. You said it earlier. Sometimes less is more, like Norman Powell said. And I think this team is a perfect testament to what they should be. And I think I want to give Matt Ishbia some credit, man, for turning it around and listening to his advisors and getting people in the right spots, because ultimately that's what's going to matter. Even Kamal Malawalks in the G League getting some reps, all that stuff adds up, bro. And one day your team will be ready to compete. I don't think the Suns are going to be a solidified playoff team, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them in contention for the play-in. So I like where they're at right now. It's pretty sunny in Phoenix. If you're a Suns fan, shout out to you. Gone through a lot.
Mhm.
and your team is performing pretty well to start the year. So can't complain with that.
Yes, sir. Going on to the next team, man. We got the Portland Trailblazers. Their record right now is currently 8-12. That has them 10th in the West. Storyline: Danny Advia, All NBA. You know, Advia is averaging career highs across the board. He's putting up 26, 7, and 6 assists on 47% shooting. The Trailblazers are also the only team to beat the 20-1 Thunder, which has to count for something at this point. You know, I brought it up, bro. I've been super impressed with them. Obviously, I have Denny on my dynasty, so I've been keeping an eye on him, what he's been able to do. I think with them, it's just, you know, the consistent guard play. You know, I brought that up. It's usually Denny that's able to take that initiative, but what does that look like whenever you're going against, you know, these teams that consistently have good guard plays, you know, being able to play make for their teams. It's been something with the Trailblazers. You know, they haven't been the greatest defensive team, but we know that they have good defensive players. I think it's just figuring out how they can incorporate forcing turnovers and getting easy buckets, because I feel like once they don't, or whenever Denny's not able to get it going, they are kind of stuck in mud a little bit with their offense. You know, they don't have a
I agree.
consistent person that could get to a bucket besides him. So that being said, our only loss in the season is against them, so that definitely has something to, you
Yeah,
know, mean something, and
it counts for something.
it's something where the Portland Trailblazers, bro, like I said, don't have the best record, but they're definitely a team that is competing, and it's something that I think as a Trailblazers fan you can be proud of, because it's something, you know, since Dame left and, you know, those years, the past couple seasons, we haven't really seen that from y'all other than this past
Yeah,
season, you know, back into the year. So interesting to see
yeah,
what they can be, and I think they're gonna be a play-in team personally, but I just think it's
yeah,
figuring out who else can be that offensive punch for them. And it's looking like, you know, potentially Caleb Love can be. And if Jeremy Grant can be consistent, then it'll be him. But until then,
Shaden Sharp.
Shaden Sharp, yeah, he's
Yeah, like he's got to be a little
a
bit
little
better. That was the one a little better,
more
more
efficient.
efficient.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep, there you go. Took the words out of my mouth. But moving on to Sacktown, man, where I'm from, man. Not very good record. 5 and 16th, currently 14th in the West. Storyline to watch out for over the last 20. Should the Kings look to tear it down, man? The Kings have been the second most disappointing team behind the Pacers easily, with that core of Levine and DeRozan and Sabonis. That Sacramento currently holds the third worst net rating in the NBA, minus 10.4. So on average, they're losing games by 10 points. Not good. And Sabonis has struggled to make an impact as well, averaging just 17 points on 51% shooting. And for those who don't know, 51% shooting for Domantas Sabonis is not good.
No.
This guy is somebody who shoots 60%, 62%. You know, he's touching Wilt Chamberlain numbers like that, Domantas Sabonis. But yeah, man, Sacramento trying to trade for the Bulls' old core. It just hasn't really worked out. They got an old roster. They're not playing Keon Ellis. Keegan Murray's hurt. Malik Monk's been a ghost. You just, what can you do? You know, Russell Westbrook's probably been their best player,
Hmm.
honestly, in
Honestly.
terms of energy and scoring and just being a consistent threat. We know Levine, like for how much Levine and DeRozan get paid, I don't like it. Like
Mm-mm.
I need more production. Um, but should they tear it down and figure out a way to start fresh? I would. I mean, rumor has it, we've seen it on ESPN that there's offers being made for Sabonis and Levine and DeRozan. So I'm sure we'll see the Kings make a move at the trade deadline.
Mhm.
I know we'll see it probably.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Going into this next team, man, we got the San Antonio Spurs. Their record right now is currently 13-6. That has them fifth in the West. Some storylines for them, man. Wemby woes. Can the Spurs make a push for a title? You know, the Spurs have the 10th best net rating in the NBA at a plus 4.5. Offensively, they rank seventh in the NBA, scoring 118 points per 100 possessions. Steph, Castle, and Harper look great. However, Wemby is sidelined again with another injury. Is he injury prone? You know, it's the fact that they have been able to sustain that Wemby injury, I think just goes to show the type of team that they are and how well they have constructed this roster. You know what I mean? Because Wemby, you know, top player in the league, he hasn't played in two weeks now, and they've been able to still maintain that record. You know, they started off hot, have been losing a couple games, but they've been able to find pieces that can contribute to winning games. You know, Devin Fizdale, I think he went off for 35 one game that ended up sealing them a win. Like we said, Steph Castle, Dylan Harper having great guard play. De'Aaron Fox, hasn't been having the greatest season, but at least you know that you have someone that you could rely on in those type of moments. They've been one of the best teams in the league, obviously. So
No
it's hard to
doubt.
really go against them. It's just seeing if are we ever going to get a full healthy season from Wemby, man? I feel like obviously the way his build is, being so tall and skinny, I think he just needs to, I don't know, like, put on a little bit more weight. But then again, I don't. That might take away from his other parts of his game. So as of right
Yeah,
now, I would say he is injury prone, but it's just based off of the seasons that he's been and the amount of injuries that he's had. But you can always have a full healthy season and you could shut people up for a little bit, but that is always going to be something when Wemby at this point in his career that is going to be a question that's going to be asked from fans and obviously Spurs fans because they haven't really seen what he can be when he isn't injured for a whole season.
yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean the 65 games limit makes it hard, right? I mean, he
Hmm.
would probably make an All NBA team, but yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. And the Spurs look good; they look good without him still. So
Hmm.
going where to Canada, up north to the north, Toronto Raptors, man, 14-7, third in the East. I mean, Toronto, are they real deal contenders in the East, man? The Raptors have been on a tear. I mean, God, no pun intended. Toronto is ninth in the NBA in overall net rating, the plus 4.6. So they're competing well. They're beating teams by average of 5 to 6 points a night. The Raptors also have the sixth best defense in the NBA, which is where they're winning games. They're giving up only 111.5 points per 100 possessions. So that's where they're really winning games. That's going to be their key mark for the rest of the year is can they stay within the top 10 defense? Because if they do, they will be one of the better teams in the East. Hence why they're third in the East right now. BI has been a great addition for Toronto. He's averaging 22 points on 47% shooting. He's been doing that his whole career, and he's doing it for Toronto. They're also in the second apron, and I said I'd bring it up, to show you guys the contrast versus Cleveland. When you're third in the East, you're in the second apron, it's justified. When you're whatever in the East, ninth in the East, 12, or you're almost 500, 12-9, it's not justified. So just to give you guys the contrast here, the Raptors are here, and Scotty Barnes has been awesome. When he's healthy, the Raptors, win over 50% of their games, and Jamal Shed looks great. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what the North can do here. Definitely after the All-Star break, man, I want to see if they're still hovering around top five in the East. We'll have to see.
Yes, sir. Going into the next team, man, we got the Utah Jazz. Their record right now is currently 6-13. That has them 11th in the West. Storyline, man. Are the Jazz too are the Jazz too good for their own good? The Jazz have been competitive team even though their record shows otherwise. Utah is 23rd in the NBA in offensive net rating, scoring 112.6 points per 100 possessions. Lowry Markkinen and Keontae George have been great for the Jazz, averaging a combined 51 points per game. Ace Bailey is also creeping up the Rookie of the Year voter boards, sitting in 8th place. I talked about him, bro. We saw it firsthand. We saw what the Jazz can potentially be. Their offense is looks like it's humming right now, but it's what can they do on the defensive side if they're really wanting to win games? And I feel like for them at this point, they are, a Walker Kessler injury away from potentially being competing in the West. Obviously he's going to be out for the whole season, but I think they're in the position that the Hornets are. You know how we said they're kind of in the mix for that playing spot. I think they could potentially make a push for that. Even if it doesn't really turn into playoff success. I think just getting that experience for the young guys is kind of what you need at this point. You need to see what Lowry and Keontae George look like in a competitive setting that is meaningful games. I guess not saying that the games that they have played aren't, but just to kind of put them in that type of environment because I feel like that is a step in the right direction that they should and can be moving into from what they've been able to do this season. Obviously, I don't think it probably will keep up with how great the offensively they've been performing, but it's a good sign for them to kinda see something that they could build upon with their roster.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like where the Jazz are. I think Coach Will Hardy's been great too this
Mhm.
year and having them fighting. He doesn't ever put out a roster that's not competing, and I think they found some great continuity. So shout out to the Jazz, even though their record's not great. But last but not least, certainly not least, even though their record is not great, Washington Wizards, man, 2 and 16th, currently last in the East, 15th in the East. But storyline, man, the Wizards are already tanking. The Wizards have been on multiple losing streaks throughout this year. Washington currently holds the worst net rating in the NBA with a negative 14.6, so they're losing by an average of almost 15 points a night, which is ridiculous. The Wizards also rank last in the NBA in total defense, giving up 123 points per 100 possessions. The true bright spots have been Kaishawn George, Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr is averaging 19 points and 8 rebounds. I think Keyshawn George is getting like 16 points a night. Those two guys, man, have been probably the only, I mean, and Trey Johnson too. Those three players have been a true bright spot for Washington, and I think they are truly a couple pieces away from being that contending team that we want to see. I think Bilal Koulibaly's disappointed me this year. I was expecting a little bit more from him on the offensive side, and he just hasn't shown up. They have good players, but I think trades like Rui Hachimura and Denny Advia have hurt the Wizards' continuity and future plans. And you start to see it spread throughout the league, man. A lot of guys go to the Wizards, and McCollum's, I would say, career is kind of in the dumpster there for right now. And I just want to see them put up some fight, man. I think they had a really good game against the Pistons, which is on my bingo card. When I mean put up some fight, they took the Pistons to an overtime game. The Pistons are first in the East. So if you're competing with a team like that when they're fully healthy, Jalen Duren's on the court, like, where is that competitive fight every night? And I think it's just a combination of young players, not the right mix of vets. And yeah, there's just a lot more questions than answers. And
Mhm.
that's a big problem. That's
Yep,
the way I'll end it.
I like that.
All 30
All
right there.
30
CJ,
right
how you
there.
feel?
I feel good, bro. That was good. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
little wrap up of the league.
Quicker.
Rapid fire,
quick-
yeah.
We did a good job. Like, it was quicker than I thought it would be. Way we'll wrap up the show, though, for you guys, man. CJ, go through your dynasty real quick, man.
Oh man. So this was a tough week for me, boys. Obviously, we missed last week. I ended up getting that dub this past week. Ended up losing, man. It was on me. It was my fault. I'll take accountability. Had two players that were zeros. Waited until their last game for them to lock in that matchup.
Yeah, I
Ended
need
up
to see.
ended up not playing at
I
all.
want to see. Oh, you got like 2 zeros from Klingon and who
And
was it?
Kobe White. So
Okay.
Kobe White has been super in and out lineups. It's been hard for me to not put him in because he could potentially pop off, get me 40 points, but it's been the consistency from him. He just hasn't he's been in and out of the lineup too much. Obviously I'm kind of working with a lot of injuries right now. I have Stephon Castle out, I have OG Ananobi and
Oh, I
Sabonis.
forgot. Castle and oh my gosh, I forgot. Yeah, your team is
It's
all
it
hurt.
it's kind of hurt. So obviously
Oh,
going through a
forgot
little
about
bit of troubles. Should have won that matchup, not gonna lie. Just didn't lock in the points, but ended up moving to 5-1. Shay's been balling out. Franz is obviously, and then Denny. Like I said, I didn't lock in, or I locked in his performance against the Spurs where he got me 57 points, and then of course he gets 76 against the Thunder the next game.
that.
So that was huge. Julius Randle has been balling out for me. He's been really consistent. I picked up Peyton Watson. He's been doing decent just to kind of have a little more depth until my other players come back. And Derek Queen, man, like I said, I brought him up from my taxi spot. I think he, especially with the way my roster's looking, don't have a consistent center, as you can tell. Klinging was out for his last game. Sabonis is out for a couple weeks. I had to make a business decision. I
I
talked to
like it.
ZD about it. I was like, man, I think it's time for me to bring him up. He's like, yeah, I think you should, man. He's putting up some good points. And then really probably my waiver pickup of this year, man, Nikhil Alexander Walker. He has been
Uh,
incredible,
he's
bro.
probably gonna stay, huh?
Yeah, he's gonna stay, bro. Especially with the way he's been playing. I think he's averaging like he was averaging like
I can't
27
believe he
for the
didn't get
last.
drafted. Yeah, I can't believe nobody took him.
Nobody
My
took him,
God.
bro.
Freaking
But
next level.
I have a big matchup this week. going against
Yeah,
Bobby. He's currently 6-0. He has Cade,
Bobby's awesome.
Tyrese, Kawhi. He has a good lineup, man. It's gonna be tough. Gonna have to be a little more strategic with the way I go about this because I know that he's gonna be able to put up a lot of
Up
points with
front.
those two
Yeah,
players alone. So it's gonna be good.
I like it.
High hopes, but it's just tough going against. I think that my schedule's gonna start to get tougher. I want to say I go against you next week, so it's starting to get to the nitty gritty of the season. I talked to you about, oh, has there ever been someone that went undefeated? Because I was on a high horse and I should have been, bro, but I just wasn't locked in, bro. Just Thanksgiving time was going getting drinks with the boys. Just wasn't keeping track of it, bro. I should have locked those points in, but it's all good. I didn't expect to go undefeated. Just the way I lost. We were talking about it before we hopped on the pod and stuff. Just it sucks that I would have rather had it be like this opposed to them playing and them just not doing well. So
Well, yeah.
obviously have a loss right now, 5-1. I think I'm second right now in the league, going against Bobby, who's 6-0. Excited for this matchup. I think this is gonna be a good one. So we'll see how it goes, man. I'll give you a little wrap up of it next week. How's your
All
season been
right.
going though, bro? How's
Yeah, man, it's been going. I've come on here a couple times and told y'all, man, my team has been, I had to make a business decision. Okay, I'm tanking. I let everybody know that. My brother, though, he ended up sending me a trade about a week ago. He offered me up Cooper Flag, Chet Holmgren, Jared Allen, and 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick for Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, and Michael Porter Jr. And guys, I had to accept. I mean, we're talking about dynasty. Holmgren and Flag are super young. Clearly, perennial pieces moving forward. I love Jokic. Jokic is obviously the most valuable player in that trade, but he's not somebody who strikes me as wanting to play until he's 36, 37. You probably have 3 to 5 more years of that.
mm-hmm.
So I'm willing to bet on an 18-year-old kid and a 20-year-old and the picks that I'm going to get from my brother on that trade. So I ended up going to da-na-na, Sports Center, that one. Shams Charania comes on, and yeah, bro, we ended up getting a deal done. But last week, man, I ended up putting up a great fight. Scored 440 points on a week. My team was popping off, bro. I was going up against Skel Ray, who was like I think he was selling. My boy Skels is selling for sure. He wants Peterson bad or Dubanston bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more of just gauging my roster because this was my first week with the new roster, so I wanted to see how they were going to perform. And I'm gonna go through some of the performances for you guys, man. So De'Aaron Fox, I did end up drafting, but he had a 72-point performance against Portland. That was really good. Reed Shepard put up 60 against Golden State, man, getting 30, a career high for Reed Shepard. So you guys know I had to lock that in. Cooper Flag, man, against my Lakers. I knew it was coming. 54 fantasy points, man. Stamp them. Jerami Grant, 50 points at Milwaukee. Like you said, man, just being consistent at Portland. And Chet Holmgren, of course, got me 45 points the other night. I mean, you have to take the good and the bad with Dynasty. I'm a losing team as of right now. That did bring me up to 2-4, so I did get another win. But I am looking to be not as good this year, and I think my team can compete with some of the best teams in the league, like you and Bobby. I could score 500 points, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be? No.
Yeah.
I want to get the picks, and I'm willing to play the young game. I think this week I'm going up against. Let's see. I'm going up against Everett. So Everett's pretty good. He's also 2-4. So it'll be a pretty good matchup. I'm not looking to win this matchup, but I am projected to win by over 70 percentage points. So we'll have to see if I can maneuver it, lock in some zeros here and there. But we'll see, man. I'm more of pushing for the future. Like I said, I got the deal done with my brother for that reason. My brother's going to go to the playoffs, and it'll probably be like a later pick. But that's still going to be useful, having a top 3, top 5 pick plus the 10 pick plus another second round pick for this year. I'm looking forward to it, man. And our league is competitive. CJ's up at the top, but looking at the standings as of now, I'll just give you guys a little rundown real quick. It's pretty cool the way Sleeper does it. I really like the way that they do it.
Me
But you
too.
can go to details and you can see how they schedule by points for. In the West, because we have it by conferences, obviously. Number 1 is obviously CJ, 5-1, and then it's my brother, my guy Tristan, 4-2. Third is my boy Evan, 3-3. Fourth is Cam, 2-4. Fifth is Everett, 2-4, and then last is Scales, obviously 0-6. And then in the East, this is competitive right here. Dick and Maxie's Ham, obviously 6-0. TJ's going up against my guy Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
Second, J Rob, 4-2. Third, Ari, 3-3. Fourth, Pobra Tomate, 3-3. Uh, Fifth, my boy Mike, my guy, 2-4, who ended up beating me and made me tank. And then last, guys, in the East is your boy, the Killers. And I got a good points for. Points for, I'm fourth currently in the league, but guys, I'm last, and I'm happy to be last.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's exciting, bro. Man, it's like we said, bro. I think it's just cool because it's a dynasty, and it's gonna be
Yeah,
the league
yeah.
is gonna be what it is
For a
unless you
while.
make a
Yeah.
crazy trade or you make moves. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be interesting, bro. We'll see how this week goes for us. Hopefully, I could get this dub, give Bobby his first loss of the season.
Yeah.
I'm hoping on it, man.
I want to see it.
It's gonna be
It's
a
the
good
best matchup of the week out of the entire league for sure
Game,
between y'all. So
game
I'm
of the
I'm
week for
excited
sure, bro. Game of the week. I'm gonna be
for
excited. I'm
sure.
probably gonna be sweating, but we'll see, man. I'm gonna be locked in. Slipped up a little bit
We'll see,
next
brother.
week, but we'll see. We'll see, bro.
Yeah, you gonna go to the playoffs, man. You got anything else for the people, man? Or this one, we had to give them the 2 hour pod. I think we came up short for them last week, so
Yeah,
we
no,
got you guys.
nah, man.
Went through
Just
all 30.
we appreciate y'all for listening and watching. Thunder continuing their historic season, so hopefully we'll see what that looks
As
like.
well.
Lakers have been balling. Luca's MVP season in my eyes. Nah, man, just watch hoops, bro. Spend time with your loved ones. Say that. This is a holiday season. And just watch hoops. That's all I gotta
Watch
say.
hoops.
Anything
Yeah, watch
else?
hoops.
Anything else you want to say for the people, bro?
Nah, I'm about to get to this Lakers game and come back on Wednesday with the analysis, man. And just yeah, I got to go get some sleep too. I have not been sleeping well, but um, yeah, all 30 teams. Hopefully, this gives you guys something to chew on. And holiday season, if you're not with family, we're praying for you. If you are with family, we're praying for you. It goes both ways. We appreciate each and every listener and viewer. We really appreciate the time. And yeah, CJ, just what he already said it. Watch more hoops.
Mm-hmm.
Go Lake Show, man.
Yes, sir. If y'all liked and enjoyed this episode of Three Man Weave, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time, man. Peace.
Peace.
Three
Three
man, three
man,
man,
three
three man,
man.
three